Welcome back to the TheWHYFiles. I'm your host, Sophia. Last episode, we were left to marvel over the power of the mind, a fascinating thing that has shaped the world for the better and for worse. The power to not only remember, but imagine is essentially time traveling, which is something I will be discussing with today's guests, Angelica and Mary, in a segment of the TheWHYFiles called Let's Visit. And where to today? The future. So buckle up for the possibilities. When searching famous time travelers, many curious results came up. 3 of the top ones included the time-traveling hipster of 1941, a Photoshop hoax, unusual only in that he is dressed far more casually than those around him, or perhaps actually a hipster traveling to the past for the reopening of the South Fork Bridge in British Columbia. The second, Chaplin's time traveler. In 1928, outside the LA premiere of Charlie Chaplin's film, The Circus, a woman was filmed, seen holding what looks like a cell phone. Debunkers claim it's only just a newly developed hearing aid called an ear trumpet. And then there's Pan Am Flight 914, an airliner that took off from New York City in 1955, heading to Miami, Florida, only to land in Caracas, Venezuela in 1985. Some accounts have the plane landing 30 years later, others 37. What's 7 more years? One theory is that the plane went through a time portal, others aliens. Have you heard of any accounts of time traveling?
I've heard the theories about, catching time travelers on video.
Like this one, the time-traveling hipster. See?
I've never seen that picture. What's different about him? The glasses? The camera? The clothes?
All of the above?
Well, his clothes are very different from how everyone else is for that time.
I mean, I can see how time traveling is being offered up as a theory here when looking at this picture. However, that Pan Am Flight 419, it's been debunked. First appearing in the Weekly World News, a tabloid that published bizarre articles and fictional news stories. This particular piece was recycled and reprinted 3 different times, with only slight variations in the details. Popular YouTube channels have covered this time-traveling account, even after its debunking. The story spread once more, gaining so much attention it became the premise of a television show. It's such an interesting topic, it's no surprise there are theories and rumors that the US government has been involved. The Philadelphia experiment, as well as the Montauk Project, are 2 among them. The Montauk Project, said to have inspired the Netflix hit Stranger Things, is well known among paranormal buffs. Secret government experiments that involved mind control, time travel, portals, and teleportation done at Camp Hero. These theories and rumors have been circulating since the 80s and included reports not unlike what was discussed in the last episode, many of which involved repressed memories. Mary and Angelica, do you guys believe the government would be involved in something like time traveling?
Have you met governments everywhere?
After what we talked about before, I think the government, because the superpower thing, I didn't know about that.
If they don't have their hands in it, they're not doing their jobs.
Yeah, any way for someone to gain power over everything, I don't doubt that the government would try everything that they could.
Time, however you define it, has always been around, but it's our concept, our measurement of it, that is constantly changing. Some moments seem to stretch, while others just fly by. Emotions play a huge role in how we perceive time. Scientists hypothesize that fear causes the most intense physiological reaction that distort our perception of time. Have you ever had a near-death experience? Many claim that time seems to slow down during those moments. In Einstein's theory of relativity, space and time are woven into the same continuum, called space-time. There is a thought experiment, one working towards the quest for a theory of everything, that attempts to explain space-time. Here's one example often used. An individual water molecule itself doesn't have a tide, but when condensed together, an ocean does. Time doesn't exist as a fundamental property, but an emergent one, like a side effect. What do you guys think time is? How would you define time?
Existing, I guess. Because whether I wake up today or I don't, time goes on, right? Whether I wake up at 10 or at 1, time goes on. It doesn't stop for me, it doesn't stop for you. It exists. It's constant, no matter what.
So whether you define time as what a clock reads, progress of existence, as of right now, 11:30 p.m. Eastern Time, I suppose it's all relative. Technically, time traveling is possible. It has happened. You've done it, so have I. When we're looking at stars in space, we're actually looking back in time, thanks to the speed of light. A light year is the distance light travels in 1 Earth year. 1 light year? That's about 6 trillion miles. The light from the sun? That's 8.3 minutes in the past. Our neighbor galaxy Andromeda, which can be visible to the naked eye, is 2.5 million light years away. That light we're seeing is 2.5 million years old, before humans were even around. And then there's mental time travel, the conscious experience of remembering your personal past and imagining your personal future. We've all been guilty of doing a bit too much of that lately, I'm sure. Additionally, there's a phenomenon predicted by Einstein called time dilation, the slowing down of a clock relative to a stationary observer. The faster you go, or the less bound to gravity you are, the more time dilates. We can see this in astronauts. Gennady Padalka holds the record for longest cumulative day in orbit. At 879 days, he traveled 0.020 seconds into the future. Sure, it's not time traveling defined by mainstream culture as we know it, but it's more than what's been done so far that we know of. Okay, so if you could travel through time, when and where?
Not to the past, no.
I would definitely go backwards. Again, this is for selfish reasons. I would only go back in time maybe a day so I could pick the winning lottery numbers and make money. Because I have so much knowledge, right? I can go back time to Coca-Cola or Apple and invest whatever little money I have and be like a fucking billionaire now.
What about the butterfly effect?
Yes, that would be the only problematic aspect of anybody time traveling. Because I'm telling you now, if I get that opportunity, I'm killing all the bloody dictators.
If time traveling was a thing, and if you could come back to your same timeline, there would have been no point to time travel anyways, because that wouldn't have happened. Yeah. Like, there would have been no reason for you to be like, I need this to... Does that make sense? Am I making sense? Like, I feel like because if you're going to travel back in time to change something and then try to travel back to your own time, you then, or those people now, like, that whole situation never even happened, right?
What if you could time travel, but only observe, not able to change anything?
Yeah. If I was only an observer and nothing could affect me,
I would go all the way back to Jesus waking up in the tomb.
I would still want to travel backwards. I'm very curious about religious things. I would very much like to debunk a bunch of those things that happened, mostly because I'm an asshole, I guess.
I would love that for my own curiosity.
But like, can I even tell people in the future? Or maybe it's for my own satisfaction. I would still like to know.
Yeah, Easter is the number one. That's the main thing. I would love to go all the way back there. Nobody else knows I'm there. I know I'm there. I'm going to be able to know this, and I'm going to be able to sleep easy. If it happens, it happens. If it didn't, it didn't. But should I come back and be all godly? You know, okay?
Every other year that passes, it's more and more plausible to me that we're living in an episode of Black Mirror or The Twilight Zone. Quantum computers, rise of the machines, uploading our mind into a matrix, maybe a simulation. The simulation theory is the proposal that all of reality, including the Earth and the rest of the universe, could in fact be an artificial simulation. This hypothesis is one that is often considered by many scientists to be possible. I myself have thought in the past that we're all just simulations, specifically ones created by our future selves. who have that technology and have uploaded their minds into a matrix, either because their physical bodies are dying or because that's just the norm, to relive events or for another reason that we just can't conceptualize. Have you had that thought that we're actually living in a simulation, the Matrix? Experienced any glitches lately?
That's legit what I feel deja vu is. I think it's a glitch in the Matrix.
Someone was, or something, or it's just a whole simulation. I can't understand the reasoning behind, like, our daily lives. And then where is it? Like, is it just programmed, or do we still have some sort of, like, will over what's happening? I don't know.
And I went through a phase in my teenage years where I just like became obsessed with the fact that what if I'm a Sims game? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like I've got agency. What if somebody else is using me, like I'm their Sim character? You know what I mean? And we don't know because we're all in it. It's like Truman Show.
Computers are becoming smaller, more powerful, and ever present. I often forget how much AI is used in everyday life. We rely on them in nearly everything. With Alexa, they're in our house. They're in the palm of our hands, and they even drive our trains and land our planes. The scope in which we employ code-driven systems is quite scary. Amazon Key is a relatively new service that allows Amazon couriers to open your front door when you aren't home and leave your package inside. Ring doorbells are starting to become a staple, and now it isn't uncommon for security cameras to be installed inside homes as well. Possibilities of the future are scary and endless. So, what do you guys think? Robots, AI?
I do like the idea, and I think that this is more closer in the future than not, of like we all having robots and they go out to work for us and then we go and live life.
I think it will. I doubt in my lifetime, but I mean, things progress a lot faster than we realize, and you have that one mad scientist sitting somewhere figuring it out. So
excellent technology compared to now. I never once thought there would be a world without CDs to listen to music. And the minute the iPod came, I'm like, why did we even bother with such flimsy? There are people that are 20 years old today that would have never seen a bloody floppy disk. Like,
so you believe the future will have many more robots?
Yeah, I think that's a future that's likely. But I don't like the idea that, they're just gonna put the robots in that job so then the humans have to get another job. No, give every human a robot. That robot goes to work, make the money, and then I get to spend it and live life, which is why we're here, right?
It's like that movie I, Robot.
My robot doesn't feel at that time. You know, everything can evolve. I'm saying when it first comes out, it's not gonna. It's like my computer. If it can go out and do the work, I can live in Hawaii for 3 weeks. If you take out the fact that I don't have to work, like me personally, but I get the revenue because I've paid the money. Like, obviously you're buying the robot, right? It's an upfront cost. Let's say it costs you $50K to begin with, right? But that robot earns you $70K the first year. Just from doing your job. Like, you make $70K a year, you've paid $50K to get it, you make $70K a year, the robot is gonna do the job. All you now have to do, you have $20K to play with, because you have to recuperate $50K. That's like nothing.
Wow, you've really thought about this.
Yo, my imagination is crazy.
Yeah. Perhaps we aren't quite at a level where our AI are more what you'd expect from sci-fi, in that it's humanoid, but it isn't as far off as you'd think. Growing up, technology wasn't nearly as advanced as it is now. It blew up at the perfect point in my life, actually, my mid-teens. I was constantly on MSN and AIM, AOL Instant Messenger, and on those networks was a bot called Smarter Child. Google wasn't anywhere near the search engine it is now, so when you had a question, you'd just shoot Smarter Child a message. Sophia, a social humanoid robot, was activated on February 14, 2016. There are many people who feel she's best categorized as something similar to Smarter Child, in that she's just a chat box with a face, while others are far more wary. There is something called the Eliza effect, named after a chatterbox Eliza developed in 1966. It means that we have a tendency to unconsciously assume that, in this instance, a computer's behavior is one and the same as a human's. Douglas Hofstadter gave the example involving ATMs, which displayed thank you after each transaction. Some might see this as expressing gratitude, when in reality the machine is only displaying pre-programmed symbols.
Do you think, like, sex robots will be a thing?
Why, are you interested? Interested in selling?
No, I'm just curious if you could choose the likeness of someone.
Ooh, likeness? That has to be illegal in the future. I mean, it's a slippery slope. The black market will certainly just take advantage of that.
There's going to be ramifications for that, you know. As we progress into that stage in technology for us as humans, we would have to consider what kind of regulation we put in place, because that's easily manipulable.
Also, what happens when you age and they don't? It's going to be kind of obvious.
Oh, I didn't even think about that part. When I age and that doesn't age, I think I would still want one though. I mean, how would it be, like, sophisticated? Would it have its own feelings?
Right, because then that would be a deal breaker. All right, let's just say it's not sophisticated then, that it's just there. Would you still have one?
No. Yeah, only because that would make me more depressed than anything. That's what I have. This is all I have and what I'm worth.
Gosh. And then there's the ethics side of it too, you know. It's like what Westworld brought up.
Like Westworld, I forgot about that show, but like how they're living in like a simulation. Oh, and then it became self-aware.
Right, and then at that point, do they now have rights? You know, there are humans out there who do bad things to other humans, so they would most definitely do them to these robots as well.
Oh my god, I didn't think about that. Because now I'm thinking of all those like fucking sick-ass people that would, oh no, now this can't happen. Even if it wasn't a robot, to know that this person has access.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever met someone who wasn't. I feel like everyone has an ulterior motive to something to make themselves feel better.
I forget what the psychological terminology is, but it's basically this concept that we all have really, really dark thoughts over the most minute things. It's like, oh, you cut me off on the queue. Now I've already killed you 5 different ways in my head. So when you give the lay person that kind of technology, come on.
Fucking sex robots. It sounds like everything is just going to be bad.
Oof. Well, on that note, let me just say that if I'm still surrounded by friends like you both, probably. Just kidding. AI is without a doubt shaping our future. Whether it's for better or worse, I'm just gonna say that's relative. Thank you again, Angelica and Mary, for joining me once more in this episode of the TheWHYFiles. Always a pleasure. Unfortunately, we haven't the time in this episode to go over the endless possibilities of the future, but rest assured, we'll visit once more. I'm your host, Sophia Kiev. Be sure to like, subscribe, and tune in for more episodes of the TheWHYFiles.